expect this conversation to be interactive. So when we pose a question for the night, we expect you to go to the chat area. We want you to make comments. We want to know more about you. So feel free to engage and interact with us.
Absolutely. So tonight we have a very important topic. And so this was something that we have been discussing, because when we talk about marriages and relationships, there's a very popular term that you mentioned, a woman by the name of Esther Perel, when it comes to marriages, as it relates to categorizing them in some very peculiar ways, right?
Yep. So there is a cornerstone marriage. There is a capstone marriage, and she specifically focuses on that. And Walter and I like to add a keystone marriage. And so for the next 3 weeks, we're going to be engaging in conversations about those three things. But tonight we want to specifically focus on, do I want a cornerstone relationship? And so if you were in a relationship, with another individual, we want you to see and assess your relationship. Was your relationship a cornerstone relationship? At what point, what were some of your cornerstone relationships? So if you're not currently in one, what do you remember and what did you learn about as you were in those cornerstone relationships? How did they shape your understanding of interacting with another person romantically, etc.?
Right. So a cornerstone relationship or a marriage is one that is founded upon a shared commitment that's made between two people, typically when they are younger. So they actually make a commitment to actually build their lives together. So it is intended to serve as a model for marriage, where you treat the marriage as something to actually build your together. This is an assumption where there is going to be mutual struggle, and the two of you have agreed to work together to overcome those obstacles. So this is something that we see that was popularized earlier on with some of the older individuals who got married in the 40s and 50s and in that era where they got married at a lot younger ages. As a matter of fact, statistics actually tell us that right now people are getting married older than, and this is the time in life right now in history where people are getting married older than they ever have and waiting until later in life to get married. Whereas back in the 1950s, people were getting married when they were 20 years old. That was the average age. Now the average age here in 2023 is actually around 31 to 32 years old.
And cornerstone marriages can be very popular. Tonight, we really want to talk about some of the benefits of cornerstone marriages, possibly some of the barriers, and really want you to think about what do they teach you that we have can be a teacher. So what are those things that you learned in that cornerstone relationship? And some of you guys might still be a cornerstone relationship partner. So
absolutely. So I actually have a background in facilities management. I worked in managing buildings and things of that nature. So the whole term of cornerstone actually comes from, it's a masonry term, a masonry used in construction. And this is generally the first stone that is laid when you are constructing and laying a foundation. It is a stone that actually lies at the corner of two walls. So this is the first actual piece of construction that is set in place, because it is intended to serve as the baseline on which everything else is constructed and built. So transpose that into a marriage or into a relationship. A cornerstone marriage is one in which everything else is around parameters of that marriage, of that relationship, whether it's personal pursuits, whether it's finances, whether it's children, all of those things, whether it's these individuals getting to know themselves and learning about one another, those things are all set on the cornerstone and then built around that particular foundation.
Absolutely. And just personal note, we entered into marriage, and our marriage is considered a cornerstone marriage because we met each other. I was a senior in high school. He was already in college. And so we dated throughout our college years. And then right after my graduation, we got married. And so we hadn't acquired...
Graduation from college, y'all. Graduate right after her graduation from college, because people heard you say we met at high school. It's like, yeah, right after I graduated. So after she graduated from college, we got married?
Yeah,
That's one-
yeah. He didn't make me delay my dreams, y'all. Yeah, so after I graduated college, we did get married. But when we got married, really all we had was some student loan bills. So we really hadn't acquired property. We hadn't built our professional careers yet. So we didn't really have a lot of things. So we really, in our relationship, we were able to build a lot of things together. We were able to have a lot first together. And so, for example, me, I have a 23 plus year career in education. Well, I've always, had my married name. I built my career in, marriage. And so, yeah. And so same thing with Walter. He built his career and we had a lot of first together.
Absolutely. So as we get into this conversation about Cornerstone marriage, we definitely want to start with our Speak Now question of the night. And question number one is, in regard to relationships and marriage, what do you value more? If you had to choose one, which one would you say you value more when it comes to relationships and marriage? Do you value stability or do you value meaning? And why? Now, when we talk about meaning, we are talking about the idea of the individual that you are building a life with, building something that isn't necessarily predicated upon, I need this person in order to make sure that I have stability, but that there's a deeper meaning and a purpose to why we are together beyond the economical and beyond some of the practical things that we need one another for.
All right. So that Speaking Out question again is, in regard to a relationship and a marriage, what do you value more, stability or meaning, and why? And so, Walter, what do you value more?
So for me, it's absolutely meaning. For me, it's being with someone who we are working together to actually fulfill our life's purpose, where we're making a mark in life, where we're doing a definitive work that is humanity that glorifies God. So for me, that is the ultimate purpose of marriage and relationships. And so when it comes to meaning, part of the reason why a lot of individuals are choosing to get married at a later age is because they don't necessarily need someone else to give them stability.
Okay.
With going to college, with getting a good job, those are things that they don't necessarily need to depend on someone in order to have that in place. So they're able to actually focus more on the meaning side. So what's said now is that this generation, the Gen Zers, the millennials, they're actually getting married more based on meaning, as opposed to some of the baby boomers and some of the older generation that got married based on stability, based on the idea of needing one another in order to have an economically viable livelihood and being able to sustain that.
Yeah, and we know during those times, and even today, having a 2-income home or whatever, it does provide more of a financial stability and things like that. But I will ask you this: Cornerstone marriage, that means you were building your foundation together. We are building our careers together. We're kind of growing up together. So the question becomes is, can you have a cornerstone marriage and have a shared meaning? Can you have both in having a cornerstone marriage? And so I think it's possible. I think that, you and I, one thing that helped us in our cornerstone marriage is we were young, but both of us had our own personal relationship with God. And so we relied on that. And that's what, that it kind of became our center. It was our center to always come back to, and that helped us when those growing pains kicked in. And we didn't necessarily, we had different relationships when it came to money and how we spent money and saving and spending and things like that. Really, it was our spiritual life that really helped us to center us.
Absolutely. So again, our Speak Now question of the night is, when it comes to your relationship, in regard to relationships and marriage, which one do you value more, stability or meaning? We're going to take a really quick commercial break and we will be right back with more. Before I do, tonight we are talking about Cornerstone relationships.
Welcome to the Couples Academy app. The Couples Academy app is your go-to hub for how to do marriage right. Get started with our app today by perusing our amazing features that conveniently allow you to connect. This app is packed with powerful content and resources to help you grow and stay connected. With this app, you can watch our messages, find marriage resources, watch, listen, and read the real-life stories of restored couples, sign up for events, read articles and blog posts, stay up to date with push notifications, share your favorite messages via Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or email, and download messages for offline listening. For more information about the Couples Academy app, go to couplesacademy.org.
Welcome back to Before I Do. My name is Charmaine Jennings.
My name is Walter Jennings. We are your Couples Academy practitioners.
And our topic tonight is, do I want a cornerstone relationship? And we're reaching out to those of you, you may be in a cornerstone relationship. And so that, again, just to go back and redefine it, a cornerstone relationship, it goes back to when you think about building a building, the cornerstone is the most important brick area in that building because it establishes the foundation. And so with that being said, if you were married earlier on in your years, you didn't have to necessarily be young, but before you start to establish your career, before you started to fully thrive in, you know, purchasing real estate or making some of these very adult decisions in your life, right? You probably have experienced a cornerstone relationship, and or if you're married and you've been married for a long time, you probably had a cornerstone marriage where a lot of your adult life experiences happen with your partner in partnership with your, you know, your husband and your wife. And so with that, do I want a cornerstone relationship? So it is a very valuable thing, but we want to go to a comment. And so we want to appreciate Michelle Davis. Thank you so much for putting your comment in the chat area, and we want to definitely support you.
Absolutely. So Michelle, she actually, just so you all know, it sounds like her and her husband have a cornerstone relationship. They say, praying for my marriage. I am going to see my husband after a 6-month separation due to family issues. I'm scared because I don't know what will happen. I'm praying that God will reveal our foundation and truth and fill us with the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
We need to be able to talk about God and a spirit and be spirit filled. We need our meaning to be trusting and truthful, and they have been married since 1994. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, first of all, we definitely partner with you in that prayer because we know there's power in your words, right? We have the ability to speak life, and you are speaking life. And so the first thing I want to tell you, as a woman of God, a believer, you have to speak forth what it is that you want to occur, but you also have to be a leader in it. So, and going into that, be prepared to set the atmosphere. Be prepared to, it's almost like, you know, I love the story about, and I don't want to get off track, and I can, but think about a welcome home party. Think about what the environment should be, all of those things. And it doesn't mean that you go and you set up this artificial moment, but what it means is go into it with a genuine excitement of, you know what, what your first words, what would they be? I'm glad to see you. I'm thankful that you're okay. I'm thankful for us to have another encounter, you know, and what would you like to have happen in that? You know what, I would like for us to, you know, have a pleasant experience in each other's presence. And so definitely continue to pray, but I'm sure the Holy Spirit will lead and guide you as to what those first words might be, what those first interactions might be. Is it public? Is it private? Are you guys going to be on family members? But just go into it with an open heart, and accepting of where your partner is. 6 months is a long time to be apart, and I don't know if your partner, you know, either there, then that definitely will support interaction because you know, both of you are on a video.
Michelle, there seems to be a trepidation in your voice, and part of the reason, there are a couple of things here that based on your perspective, just as should be excited about the fact that you have been praying for your marriage and you all are going to be reconnecting after 6 months. That is something to be celebrated. So you want to go into it, first of all, with a spirit and attitude of expectancy.
Yes.
Being excited about seeing him, whether he's excited to see you or not, is besides the point. The point is that you are going in modeling the model. So you're excited about seeing him. And then the second thing is being able to have a conversation with him about your foundation, about your truth, and really have a discussion about what things have you all been founded on before? Who are you? You all, again, have been married for this year. I don't know if you've already celebrated your anniversary this year, but this year is 29 years.
Yes.
Next year will be 30 years. And so that is something, just the bottom line is, wherever you all are, just to be this close to a milestone like that is, again, something to be celebrated. And so in marriages, there are going to be seasons where you're going to really look at, what does renewing our relationship look like? What does the next level and next steps look like? How have we been doing marriage, and how can we do marriage better? What are some of the changes that we need to make? You're not going to be married 10, 15, 20, 30 years without changing individually and collectively. So it's not about maintaining the status quo, but it's about understanding those changes and then being able to make them together. So again, as Charmaine mentioned, we really celebrate you and this opportunity that you and your husband have. And we want to challenge you to not only connect with him and be excited about it, but definitely reach out to us as well. As far as with the mediator, with counselors who are going to help you all make sure you're on the same page with your marriage as you move forward.
Yeah, I mean, because you mentioned we need to be able to talk about God, you know, we don't know where your husband is in that area, right? But I will say this. If you and your husband have had challenges with talking and communicating in the past, and being able to stay focused on what it is you're supposed to stay focused on, a great strategy is, again, I don't know what the environment is, but for you, or if you get tongue-tied, because sometimes when emotions are high, I'm one of those people, I sometimes struggle to communicate. So just writing down some of those things. What are you thankful for? Do you even have those questions that you might want to ask your husband? I don't know if it's been 6 months and y'all haven't talked at all in that 6 months. And so it might be a something to ask him. Hey, what have you learned in this 6 months about yourself? What are you thankful for? Right? Those are some things I'm going to challenge you to journal. I want to know from you. What are you thankful for in this season? And it could be about your interaction. It could be about, what are some things about this interaction that you might be nervous about? And most importantly, what have you learned about yourself during the 6 month separation? That's a great question for you to answer and for him to answer as well. And so just having sometimes 3 go-to questions.
Yeah, and this is a great comment as we go into this discussion about some of the benefits of a cornerstone marriage. And there are several. So one of the first benefits of a cornerstone marriage is that there is typically less baggage. So individuals in their 30s are typically carrying more than a decade's worth of breakups. We talked about individuals who are waiting later in life to get married, waiting until their 30s. Well, those individuals are usually carrying the baggage of breakups, lingering feelings for past partners, trust issues, disappointments, and a bunch of other different things. However, when you marry young, you and your partner, you typically have less exes, old flames comparisons, and also you are able to avoid that retroactive jealousy when it comes to other past relationships. So you can start your life together with a more guileless freshness that lends itself to unabashed and a lasting romance that is free typically from comparison. And so there usually is less baggage in your marriage when you start out a cornerstone relationship.
All right. The next benefit of a cornerstone marriage is shared partnership. And so that's at the most critical phases in life, and there's a lot of growth stages that occur as well. So these strong partnerships make for strong communication. They make for stronger collaborations and that united front. And really just being able to safeguard the relationship. So this capacity involves empowering individuals with the knowledge, tools, and other resources that they need to reach their goals. So married couples benefit from having a built-in ever-present support system. And so, yeah, when you grow up together in a cornerstone marriage, you have a support system as you encounter these various stages of life. A lot of times these couples feel more comfortable. If you ever think about the 80-year-old couple who they're still sweet on each other, they still open the door for each other, they still feed each other ice cream. And, and there was a sweet couple that actually the pastor who married us, he and his wife, they were married for decades, older couple. And when his wife passed away, they were so in love. He literally passed away 3 days later because they were just that connected. It was so beautiful. And I'm not saying that, you get out of here and I want to get out of here too, but it was just sweet because it was almost like, no, I don't want to be without my queen. And her name was actually Queen. It was just so beautiful. And so, but there's that connection that they're just so yoked together, heart, mind, and spirit.
Absolutely. And so, and there's benefit to having an accountability partner, to have that individual. And obviously there's some challenges with it too. There are some things that you must embrace with always having someone that's there and that voice that is going to be there. Right. But there are benefits to that as well, because you have someone who can offer you perspective, who's going to give you critical feedback, but usually has the perspective of wanting to help you be better and to help you grow. So that is really important as far as in your growth process. So our third benefit of a cornerstone marriage is that responsibility when you are younger and embracing that can actually aid in maturity and focus. Now, success often requires individuals to set goals, make sacrifices, and respect perspective and opinions of others. And so responsible people understand that sometimes gratification needs to be delayed now in order to attain a more favorable future outcome. Now, this process, while applicable to almost any situation, is an important development also within a marriage. Successful marriages often require partners to make sacrifices for the good of their spouse. So part of the way that we learn how to make those sacrifices on the job, how to make those sacrifices in our life, those can cope within marriage. So a person learns and master the thought process of sacrificing and goal setting, then the better chance that they have to acquire the maturity and the focus that's necessary for success in the various areas of their life. Now, also, there's a prevalent myth out there that early marriage will prevent you from doing cool things before you turn 30. So like traveling or starting a business. However, on the contrary, having a spouse and having a partner, they actually allow you to do those things with someone and they're easier to execute because now you have a supporter and a sponsor sometimes financially in being able to accomplish those things.
I mean, I'm just going to add something personal. We have a cornerstone marriage, and going back to something that was mentioned about the maturity, the focus, right? And having a partner to build with, some people might look at that as, well, I don't want to be codependent. I don't want to be codependent, and it is more of an interdependence, right? It can lead to codependence if you allow it to, but a healthy cornerstone marriage is more about the interdependence and the independence, right? There's a dance, and there's a dance between both things when it's done and when it's done right.
Absolutely.
But yeah, there can absolutely, you do have to be mindful of that. But I did want to mention that there also is a level of additional patience that I think when you have a cornerstone marriage, because like, me, you've known me since I was 18. And so, you know a lot of intimate details about me and vice versa. And so I think the benefit for me is you've been really patient with me in my different life cycles, as opposed to sometimes you know, if you don't have that, because you have that foundation, I think you have a deeper level of patience in my growth process because you know where I've come from.
Yeah,
You know.
and I can absolutely validate as well that, because we got married at a young age. I believe you were 21, I was 23, and so professionally, I'm pretty certain that I wouldn't have been able to accomplish what I have accomplished, especially as early as I did, if I was not married, and specifically married to you, because of the type of person that you are. And so with some of the benefits,
in a good way, y'all.
Absolutely, yeah. But again, so I can attest to these benefits because I have definitely seen them work in my marriage and in my life. So again, we're talking about cornerstone marriages, and so we want to pose this question to you all. So this is our Speak Now question number 2. Do you know anyone that has a cornerstone marriage?
And what are some things you notice about their relationship? Y'all tell their business. All right. And then lastly, what are some things you wonder about their relationship? Okay. So this is y'all opportunity to get in their business. We already admitted we have one. So what are some things that you notice about their relationship? And what are some things you wonder? What are those burning questions you have for those couples who really, they've been married since they were younger? Y'all know y'all got them, especially inappropriate questions.
Absolutely.
Because I thought it myself.
Absolutely. So we're going to let you all ponder on that. And if you would, put your comments in the chat in regards to those cornerstone marriages that you have observed. And we are going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with more cornerstone marriages right here on Before I Do. Welcome back to Before I Do. We are talking about cornerstone marriages tonight. And again, our Speak Now question of the night number 2 is, do you know anyone that has a cornerstone marriage? And what are some of the things that you notice about their marriage? And also, what are some of the things that you wonder about their relationship if they do have a cornerstone marriage?
So what are those burning questions? Again, a cornerstone marriage, if you're just tuning in, it is a relationship or a marriage where you are building together, meaning you're building your foundation together. Perhaps you both are building your careers. You're in the early stages of that. Maybe you guys are still in school. Maybe you haven't necessarily purchased property yet, haven't started a family, those kind of things. A lot of times those relationships, it is an earlier relationship that really you come together to build that foundation together.
Absolutely. And you had a really interesting question as we went to break, as it relates to some of the things that people probably wonder about us and our cornerstone marriage. So you want to share about that?
I mean, when people start to hear how long you've been married, and it's specifically for us, well, really not even for us, but when they see couples who've been married for 30 years, 40 years, 60 years, I mean, you get people, to me, one of the burning questions are like, how could you be satisfied with having sex with the same person for 60 years? Like, okay, you've been together 23 years, like, man, you know, there can't be any more positions to explore. Like, I mean, I'm sure y'all done it every which way after 23 years. Like, how are you not bored? How are you not like tired of this individual? And so usually that's a burning question. And so how would you answer?
So I would say that, first of all, that's the great thing about being in a marriage, is that it always, there's in some business, but you know, to dress up when it comes to traveling, when it comes, because it's not just the act of sex, but it's also in the intimacy that comes along with it. And so, you know, I can tell you, we've been married this month actually will be 23 years for us.
Yes.
And when I tell you, I still get the same butterflies, still get the same excitement, being with her, especially work more than just the physical act. And so it's not just about the act of sex. So it's everything that leads up to it. It's everything that surrounds it. It's everything that she is. It's being able to explore and do new things with her. And so that excitement and that newness, it never goes away as long as you keep that fire burning. Now, I do want to caution you, it is a work.
Yes.
I get up in the morning, I work out, I try to keep myself I try to keep myself together. I do it for health purposes, but I also too, I don't allow myself to get lazy in my marriage and believe that, well, we've married 20 years, I can let myself go. No.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, and it's not, and again, it's not just a matter of I'm doing this for her, I'm doing this for me, and I'm doing it for my health, but I also want to make sure that I'm continuing on in the work of keeping my wife's eye.
And that's why even in counseling, it's never just working with couples. It is always making sure that you're in a relationship with yourself. And so there have been moments in our marriage where I have not been happy with myself. My self-satisfaction rate was very low. And guess what? That's going to impact our relationship. So yeah, but when it comes to keeping things spicy in our relationship, you have to continue to reinvent the spontaneity. If we want more excitement, if we want more, I don't know, we want more fantasy role play.
Bell, please.
So we have, we continue to learn, and include some interesting artifacts. We've been blessed with all kind of stuff. You got body paint, you got wax, there's so much stuff. And let me tell you something, if you have not tuned into SOS with our dear practitioner friend Lakeisha Hines, then you need to tune into that show, because she will give you some ideas and some opportunities to learn how to keep things spicy and things right. But even in our even with our sessions with couples, you have to keep things fresh and new. 23 years, you can still, believe me, you won't max out of things to do that's fresh and new.
And just in case we have some Jesus people out there, the Bible says that the bedroom is undefiled.
Get your freak on.
So that means that, again, as long as it's morally right and you all agree on it, then yeah, the whole world is open and available to you. So explore it. God put this here for me and you. So the point
is in your spouse.
Yes.
To clarify.
In your spouse, absolutely. So God gave us sex as a way to procreate, but he also gave us sex as a way to celebrate that oneness, that joining, that coming together. The Bible says
he didn't have to make it pleasurable.
Exactly. The Bible
says, made it pleasurable.
The Bible says that the two shall become one. So celebration so sex is a celebration of that. It is that coming together and that joining, and it is a representation of that symbolic coming together of two individuals. So tonight, again, we're talking about cornerstone marriages and relationships, and we've shared about the 3 benefits as it relates to being in a cornerstone marriage. Now we want to get into some of the challenges, because we want to make sure that you got both sides of the coin. Yeah, there's some challenges that come along with it, just as with anything.
All right. And so the first challenge includes both individuals are still getting to know themselves. Yes. And so you're growing up, you're getting to know yourself. And so now your partner's having to get a master's degree and knowing you, and you don't know you. And so, man, that can be a heavy up mountain climb, where it's like, man, she doesn't know her, he doesn't know himself, and I'm expected to master the shit that they are, and they don't even know. And so it can feel like a roller coaster ride. So when people get married at a young age, they're still trying to figure things out, and because of that, there's a lot of questions. It can really, if you are a high achiever, you can easily feel like you're not really being successful, because the moment you master one aspect of your partner, they've grown and evolved and they've moved on to something else, or they're through that self-discovery process, they're realizing, no, that's not for me. So according to research, it can be helpful to have someone along for the ride of self-discovery, but it can also be a distraction, especially if you are a giver. You can focus and pay so much attention to your partner that you're really not paying much attention to yourself. And so you might even find yourself married to a complete stranger one day because of how pretty much their character evolves year after year. And if you can work out your issues and develop a friendship that can serve as a foundation of your relationship, then you've got a chance to make it. And I do believe in that, because sometimes if you don't really know yourself, but you're a giver, you can put all of your focus and energy and attention on loving your partner, getting to know them, and you can completely abandon yourself.
That's right.
And it can be all about your partner, and then you wake up one day and realize, wow, I haven't done my own work because I was so focused on them.
Absolutely. And so that actually leads right into challenge number 2, which is that couples can easily grow apart over time, because as these individuals get to know themselves, now, you know, you're 5, 10, 15 years in, and because you're getting to know you, it's like, I don't like how I fit with this person. And so for many young couples, it's couples who get married before 28, 25 are actually twice as likely to get divorced. So being young, people have varied tastes and desires in life, which can significantly change as you grow. And as you develop, the maturity level and your perspective will change.
Yes.
And so this can cause compatibility issues that may lead to conflicts. So if you build a friendship, then you're at a higher risk of going through a divorce. I'm going to say that again. It is critical in your marriage that you develop a friendship. Do you like your spouse? Now, you may be doing business well together. You may be doing the business of marriage well together, but are you doing the act of marriage and relationship? Are you doing life and relationship at a high rate and at a place to where this is an individual that you enjoy doing life with? And so either way, you're stuck walking along a more challenging road than couples that choose to wait before tying the knot. In most circumstances, if you're not putting yourself in a position where you're actually building a kinship and a friendship with your spouse.
All right. And the third is pretty much the third challenge is the challenge of a cornerstone marriage and or relationship can include being more likely to stay together because of history, finances, and children. Like, meaning we just feel obligated. You know, we just feel obligated. Like, I done been with this person too long, or thinking nobody else will want you because, you know, you've been with this person for 30 years. You got children, you got shared finances and history, or I just don't feel like starting over.
Exactly.
That's usually a common expression where I just don't feel like starting over.
And you've met these couples, you've seen these people where they're we're just together for the children. And they've built the whole life together that they can't even imagine separating themselves from one another, because how am I going to be able to live a life separate from this person when everything that I have is intricately woven into them and they are a part of it?
Absolutely. So there's a sense of love, safety, security, and all of these things can sometimes handcuff a person to just really be compliant and complicit.
But it goes into something that you mentioned earlier too, about developing this sense of codependency, where you want to foster in a marriage a sense of interdependence, where I definitely support you and you need me, but you can absolutely function without me, and vice versa. We don't want to develop a sense of codependence where now you can't do anything without me. And so everything that I do, you have to some way be intrinsically tied to it, or else it's not going to function.
Or being that clueless person that, I'm sorry, you know, I go out and hang out with my girlfriends and I pop up. It's just supposed to be a girls' night, and I come up there with my husband.
Or I'm calling every 15 minutes because I'm not used to you being gone.
And my girlfriends are like, dude, we were supposed to be hanging out and it was just supposed to be us, ladies' night. And it's, oh, well, it's just Walter. It's like, no, like at some point it's ladies' night. Or like you said, you know, him calling over and over. I can't go out and enjoy myself apart from you, like you're that codependent. like, or vice versa. And so just being mindful of those things. And these can be some challenges with cornerstone marriages, that codependence can definitely exist and can be very unhealthy.
Absolutely. So it's important, again, regardless of the relationship that you are in, to really support one another, understand who you are as it relates to how you are growing, making sure that you are establishing and walking in strong communication. In a cornerstone marriage, it is so imperative that the two individuals are constantly checking in so that they're relearning who their partner is. My wife has changed so much over the years. There are things that she shared with me that she was going to do. I still remember that years ago, she talked about getting a vehicle that has satellite radio so that she can listen to talk radio and become more attuned to, just different life. And she did that. And when I tell you, intellectually, and when it comes to just different teaching pedagogy and various things, she's spot on. And because she's immersed herself in it. And so for me, I got to keep up. So, I have to listen and educate myself. I have to be prepared to listen to her as well, and making sure. Because again, that's important. And so I may not listen to it at the volume and the rate that she does. But again, the point is that as she's changing and taking an interest in certain things, I at least have to be cognizant and aware of it so that we can have a conversation as it relates to it.
And it's sexy.
I'm just saying.
I love that too.
That's the work. That's the work. Hey, everyone. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Before I Do. Once again, we're talking tonight about cornerstone relationships. Next week, we are going to be going into capstone relationships.
Yes.
Now, capstone relationships are those relationships that, again, a lot of the modern day individuals who are getting married, that we see them experiencing, where they're actually waiting until they get into their 30s, mid 30s, where they're established in their professional career, and then looking to actually allow marriage to serve as another part of what they've built individually, and merging those two worlds together. What are some of the benefits? What are some of the barriers? We're going to talk about that next week.
Yes. All right. And so we appreciate you for always tuning into Before I Do. Again, we are your Couples Academy practitioners. Book us for a session. Go ahead and enhance who you are, enhance who we are collectively, you and your relationship, and go ahead and reach out to us and book a session. We look forward to meeting you and getting connected with you to help you enhance your relationship.
And before we check out, I want to give a shout out to Michelle. Michelle said, "Thank you for the advice tonight. Awesome. I will try to date my husband this weekend.
You better.
Because they have been separated for 6 months and now they back in stride again."
Yes.
I agree with you. She said, "Challenge accepted."
We're
ringing the bell. And Michelle,
Yes.
we expect you to check back with us next week. Tune in to Before I Do. Let us know how everything went. Thank you guys again for tuning in to Before I Do. And we'll see you all next week. Good night, everybody.
Bye.